I discovered something. I discovered heart rate variability. Has anybody ever heard of that before, heart rate variability? Beautiful. I discovered heart rate variability. I'm like, how do I not know this since the moment I was born? Heart rate variability. Extending the space between the beats of my heart changed everything for me. So I want to, before I get started, just want to let you know I have to pee. I should have ran away and did that, but I didn't. So I want to acknowledge everybody here for taking the time to be here. It's one of those things in life where we all have lots of things to do, and each and every one of you chose to be here tonight. So I'm in deep gratitude for that and appreciate and acknowledge you being here. So thank you. I also want to acknowledge Sam and Mike for this amazing event and inviting me to be a part of it. And if we could, maybe just give them a big round of applause. Enough for them. That's it. Over. Okay, I'm relying on you to keep on track. Okay, I got 15 minutes. Now, I do a lot of presentations, and I usually do a lot longer than 15 minutes. So I'm going to do my best to narrow this down. And I'm here in complete service to you, so that has not always been the case. A lot of the past for me is about, and has been about, taking care of my own human needs. But those have been taken care of, and I'm going to share with you how I did that. Right from a very young age, I was addicted to sugar. I lived in a fast food house, and every time I share that in my book, I talk a lot about it, and every time I do, and my mom hears that I'm talking about it, she gets very upset. I say, no, it's not you, it's the product of the environment. And this is the baby boomer generation. Didn't know that food was what it was back in the 70s, 80s. I was born in 73, I'm 44 now, but in the 80s, or 70s, 80s, for me, when I went into my kitchen, it was a fast food cupboard and fridge. I had whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And didn't know that that was setting me up for what was to come. When I was 12, I was diagnosed ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I was medicated with Ritalin. That, for me, led to me being pulled out of class and diagnosed as learning disabled, and my sister as well, and built this stigma that I created for myself around that experience that wasn't true. It's what my mind created around it. That led to me really building a construct and a need to protect myself from anybody to ever think that I was stupid. And so that continued for me. And this relationship to food, or poor relationship to food, continued. And when I was probably about 20 years old, I got into university, and I was working at a restaurant called Pizza Hut. And I actually worked my way up to being the store manager for this little takeout outlet. And if you can imagine, being the manager of a pizza restaurant, what does that give you access to? As much as I wanted to eat. And I got to the point where I was about, 50 pounds heavier than I am now. So I was just about 200 pounds. I wasn't obese, but I was husky. And more than that, though, I just didn't feel well. I felt like crap all the time. And I ended up graduating from university, and I started to wonder, well, what do I do with my life now? I have a degree in sociology, a diploma in international business management, and I still am kind of hiding from a lot of my past experiences, and I'm still addicted to sugar. And I decided to take the easy road out. At the time, I thought it was a smart decision, but I started to work for family. My uncle owned an upscale furniture store in Toronto and said, Adam, why don't you come work for us? Anybody here ever worked for family before? How is that? That wasn't good for me. So within 6 months, I started to go through what I consider to be extreme stress. And my stress led to me having bouts of depression, bouts of anxiety attacks. And my big rock bottom moment, or maybe I can consider that being my big aha moment, was when I went in my doctor's office and I asked him, hey, listen, I'm not feeling well. I'm not thinking right. I'm not feeling like I'm alive. I'm feeling like I'm just suffering all the time, crying myself to sleep every night, and there's something wrong with this. Yet, I know now a lot of it had to do with the food I was choosing to eat and the way I was thinking about myself. And so my doctor said, well, Adam, first off, we have to take care of the fact that you're pre-diabetic. you have high cholesterol, gave me a prescription for Lipitor, which I never did take that. But when he told me that I was pre-diabetic and I was there looking for some support with where my head was going, I walked out of there and I really realized for the first time that something had to change. And up until that point, I was giving my power away to others to tell me what I needed to do. It was easy going into the doctor, and I'm not against anything, but for me, it wasn't working whenever I would go to see somebody to say, hey, listen, I'm not feeling this, or I want to have this. And they would tell me what to do, and then I wouldn't get that. A lot of it for me was that I wasn't going in to where my power was to be able to heal. So I got very lucky. I got very lucky because I discovered rock climbing. I discovered rock climbing in 1997 or 8 or so. Joe Rockhead in downtown Toronto. I walked into this indoor gym, and again, suffering with anxiety at the time. I got halfway up this climbing wall and went into a bit of a panic attack. And I started to sweat, and I had pain in my arm. My mouth was dry, my hands were sweaty. And I screamed at my buddy. I said to him, let me down. And we were both very unhealthy at the time. And when he let me down, I was very happy to be down, obviously. But something happened to me that first time that I didn't really associate with to where and how it's helped me get to where I am today, until probably about 6 months after the first time I tried rock climbing. And what it was the first time that I had ever connected to my breath in a way that stopped my thoughts. Now, on average, we have 70,000 plus thoughts a day. Mine back in the day were very unhealthy. They were not supportive of a lifestyle that was about abundance and about feeling a lot. It was about a lot of misery and a lot of how am I ever going to have it be different from what it is right now. And so I got into rock climbing heavily because it was the only escape I had from my mind. And from that experience, I decided that I was just going to pursue that because it's the only way I felt good is from climbing. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to climb. Moved up to Golden, BC in 2001. And in Golden, I immersed myself in the outdoor culture, ice climbing, ski touring, and rock climbing. And from that experience, I discovered that my fast food diet wasn't going to help me keep up. And that's when I kind of really started to teach myself and not listen to what everybody else was telling me to do, especially in relation to nutrition, what I can do to help myself. And I started to look around at all my friends in Golden, and they are all very seasoned athletes, very strong, physically, and for the most part, mentally as well. And I was looking at what they were doing, and so much it was based on eating a lot of plants. And the more I looked at that, I thought it was really strange. Like, well, yeah, okay, I understand eating more vegetables makes sense. But I grew up eating all meat, eating all dairy. That was my main diet, and obviously the processed foods. And when I watched what they were doing, I started to incorporate some of it. And the introduction of eating more plants started to shift my cravings. And as I shifted my cravings, I realized at the same time it was also starting to stabilize my blood sugar. And I said to myself, well, there's something in this that I would never have discovered if I didn't find rock climbing. And thank goodness I have, because now I'm learning about the nutrition part that I was never taught. And it dawned on me in this way where it's like, wow, I don't get it. I don't understand why we all don't know at least the basics of how this is working for us. Because, and as we just heard in relation to the sugar, our society is just filled with access and filled with external sources for us to try and feel better, which sugar is the main addiction, and our phones is probably taken over that in relation to our need and our hit of dopamine. So, my experience through climbing led to me discovering the nutrition, and I got on my high horse and said, okay, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to teach this, I'm going to make sure everybody hears this message. And did quite well at that, and got to the point where I built a consulting company in 2003 called Power of Food. Started doing a lot of corporate consulting and training, doing a lot of corporate health coaching as well, and then wrote the book, The Power of Food. And all that is all beautiful. But it was still coming from a place that was creating anxiety. And so I don't have a whole lot of time, but I really want to share with you what I've discovered. And I've discovered this most recently through my relationship with my daughter Juliet, and Juliet is 5 years old now, and Juliet, when she was born, was very challenging for me because I wanted the outcome to be different than what it was. When she would cry, I didn't want her to cry. When she threw her food, I didn't want her to throw her food. So it kept throwing me into my head, wanting the outcome to be different than what it was. Now, in business sense, I think many of you can understand this, or health. When you want to get healthy, we get into our heads and we try and figure out a way to change the current result. We're not living in the present moment. And so when Juliet was born, I started to see something that I never saw before in my own mental illness. And it was the need and addiction to outcome. It was my addiction to outcome, which always threw me into the future and never allowed me to live in the moment. And at the same time, it was showing me patterns of my past that I was continually attracting into my future based on my mechanisms to need to survive or protect myself from past experiences. So here I am living in past, living in future, and not living here in the moment. And my daughter was the one who thrusted me into the need in order to be able to change my need for it to be different. And so I discovered something. I discovered heart rate variability. Has anybody ever heard of that before, heart rate variability? Beautiful. I discovered heart rate variability. I'm like, how do I not know this since the moment I was born? Heart rate variability. Extending the space between the beats of my heart changed everything for me. And so I started to practice this. It's a 4-7 breath. 4 in, 7 out. And what I noticed is for me, when I do that, within about 5 breaths, I calm my nervous system. Now what's happening is, in my need for the results to be different, it throws me into fight or flight. It's the natural mechanism of the mind to survive. It throws you into fight or flight when you are going for something that you need to have happen. And so it was revving up my internal biology. My physiology shifted. And I never recognized that that was happening. I was always just in the action. Go, go, go. Change this. Get the result, analyze it, get back into it, change it. And so when I was learning about heart rate variability and practicing it, I noticed that I was able to calm that down. Now this is different than meditation. It's different than most practices that I ever used my mind to try and figure out, well, how do I get healthier? Maybe I should meditate. Maybe I should go to yoga. Those are all still constructs of my mind needing to do something to have a different result. What I needed was something that I can bring into my day in the moment when I was starting to rev up. When my mind was starting to rev up, I needed something to calm it down. And this is the only thing that I discovered that worked. And it worked so well that I noticed results in my daughter that triggered in me that there's more to this than I can understand at the moment. But I was committed to it, because when I sat in front of my daughter and all of a sudden she would go into a panic or one of her meltdowns, which I'm sure if anybody's a parent, you've had that experience with your child, I would right away go into, how can I fix this right now? When all I really need to do is calm my nervous system, breathe, relax, and it changes everything. The coherence that then starts to turn on in the frontal lobes of the brain, and my mind started to work more efficiently. The decisions I was making became cleaner and clearer, and I began to transfer this practice of heart rate variability into every area of my life, which I discovered from that is that there's an area in my heart that I didn't have activated very much at all that is now activated, and it's created some very beautiful space between here and here to where now this isn't running the show. I am not addicted to the need for the outcome to be different. And that, to me, has been the main way that I have been able to calm my nervous system down and get to a state where the attraction of being able to feel more of what this can make me feel like is something I want more of, because it's a state of growth. It's not taking away my energy, it's giving me energy. This comes at a cost. It takes away energy. Mental exhaustion is the number one thing I hear most often now. It used to be energy. Adam, I need more energy. Adam, I need more energy. In the last year, it's shifted to mental exhaustion. We are overstimulated, and we are not happy with where we are in our lives in this moment. If you're focused on past and on future outcome, you can't be here and now, and you will always have the same thing showing up. So what I invite you to try out as a takeaway in relation to this heart rate variability, one, just Google it. It's out there. Number two is I'm going to give you a 3-day challenge. All right? 3-day challenge. I want you to practice 3 times a day a breath. 4 in, 7 out. Right? You guys get what that means? 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, 3 times in a row. Takes 33 seconds to do. Right? But 3 times a day. That's less than 2 minutes a day. Right? Now, if you're open to that challenge, throw your fist in the air and say, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in the lounge that we're at, I have my cards there. Now, for those of you who are committed to trying that, and if you want me to send you an email with the actual steps, so that's easier for you, grab my card and make sure you send that to me. Send me the text or an email that says you want to do it, and then I'll make sure I send you that email. All right. Sounds good? Okay. I think I'm done. But before I do, I got a copy of my book here, The Power of Food. Now, this is national Canadian bestseller, 100 plant-based, it's all plant-based recipes, and I want to give one away.
Yes, I really
Okay, hold on. But I think we already have a winner, but I want to give it away to the person who is cheering the loudest for the next 5 seconds starting now. Go!